Here we're going to look at open-ended and closed-ended questions. Okay, open-ended questions are questions where you don't provide any answer categories to the respondent. So in this example here, in your opinion, how important is innovation to profit margins for your firm? And you've provided the respondent with a number of lines, so it's clear that you expect them to write out their answer in their own words. Okay, the very same question can be adjusted to be a closed-ended question, where it's exactly the same question, but here you indicate to the respondent that they are to tick the appropriate answer category. Okay, here it's a Likert scale. It's 1 to 5, 1 being very important and 5 being very unimportant. Okay, um, there's not necessarily a right or wrong thing to do when it comes to open-ended questions. You need to consider the kind of data that you're interested in. Okay, with closed-ended questions, you're providing the respondent with the answer categories, so they are more likely to reliably complete the task of answering the question because they have been told what is an appropriate answer. Okay, so 1 being if it's very important, 3 if it's being somewhere between important and very unimportant, and 5 being if it's very unimportant. Okay. However, with the open-ended question, you are giving the respondent the opportunity to answer the question in their own words. They may actually give you a clearer indication of their real views in terms of how important innovation is to profit margins. With the closed-ended question here, we have already determined the type of the level of measurement that the variable is going to be. It's going to be ordinal. Okay, so you've provided ordered categories to the respondent in terms of the answer categories. Closed-ended questions, by and large, are easier to complete and faster to complete, and therefore tend to have higher response rates. Okay, but you do need to consider the type of data that you want. If you want very qualitative data, very in-depth data, if you really want to know the opinions of the respondent, an open-ended question may be the one to go with. However, you do need to bear in mind that in terms of analysing the data and first of all coding the data, open-ended questions are much more time consuming to code, and that's because it might be difficult to interpret the meaning that of the answer, in that somebody may have written a number of sentences in relation to how important they consider innovation, but in fact when you read the answer as the researcher, you're not able to determine whether it should be coded as a 1 or a 2 or a 3 in fact. So that's something to consider. So when you're deciding between an open-ended question, there are a number of things that you need to consider. Their kind of response rate that you're hoping to achieve, whether you're very interested in the level of measurement. So do you want an ordinal level of measurement? Do you want a nominal level of measurement? Do you want ratio? These are things to be considered. How easy is it going to be to interpret the open-ended question and therefore to code it? Okay, so again, a number of things to consider when deciding between an open and a closed-ended question. Finally, something that's important to remember: both of these questions can be used for factual and non-factual questions. So you can use an open-ended question to ask a factual question or an opinion question, but in general the open-ended questions are used for opinion questions. But again, a closed-ended question could just as easily be used, as we've seen in this example, for an opinion question.